good at it.
I think you'd have to go back a long way because it's considered a lot of the time old school, isn't it? You know, I think, but what I would say about Arteta as well, he's on a journey at this football club. Made big decisions throughout the years, getting rid of the likes of Lacazette, Aubameyang, Ozil. Big decision today. Sub Zinchenko on, take Zinchenko off. You know what that feels. Well, I don't know if you do know what it feels like as a player, but it's one of the worst things. But he's a manager that's not afraid to make these huge decisions. So, you know, they're in a really good place as well. But, you know, it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. It really is.
Yeah, it really will.
Just one more point on the set pieces. Like, we were talking about it, like, they have a knack of surrounding the area that the ball ends up in. Now, sometimes those corners come into the near post, sometimes the back post, sometimes right around the goalkeeper. It seems that wherever it is, they've got 4 or 5 Arsenal, sometimes around the goalie, sometimes the near post for the first one. And the second one, the guys around Mazraoui at the back post, we're going to show that in the highlight. Just swamp around him and force a ball in there. It's spectacular work.
Yeah, it's clever. It's smart football, and it was really fun to watch in the second half today.
Almost like when corner or set piece is coming in the fence, I'm feeling it, you know, like, let's go, we're going to score this. And Arteta, being a student of Guardiola, we can say that, right? He always, in my mind, watching him, like to improvise, finding new aspects of the game, innovation, stuff like this. So I'm not going to be surprised if now we have the coach of set pieces, maybe we have a coach of attacking options as well. You know, pretty much than NFL. You know, NFL have coaches in the defense, coaches in the attack. This is how football probably is growing up and changing in a way. And we can see the results when we have a coach in the set pieces.
OK, so we're just going to get the thoughts of Alan Shearer, our co-commentator tonight, who is with Kayana Freeman.
Alan, we've talked a lot about the set pieces and Arteta's just been at the table with the rest of the team. What do you make of him so far this season? Are you impressed with him and his team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they started really well. They had a bit of a sticky spell when Odegaard was injured, but their form in recent weeks, coincidentally, when he's come back, he's a huge part of the team, has been really good. Even when they don't play well, we know. I mean, tonight is a great example of that, how incredible they are at set pieces. I mean, there are so many things that have to go right for a set piece. First of all, the ball in there, then the movement, and the hunger and the desire to get on the end of it, then the contact with it. All right, they got a little bit of luck with when it comes off Saliba's backside, but they get the header at the far post from Partey. So when ultimately you don't play that well they didn't in the first half, they're improved in the second half. It's the little percentages of the set pieces, which is why you work so hard in training. And when they work tonight, it must give all the staff great satisfaction.
An essential player in the set pieces, Declan Rice, also a player of the match. How do you judge his performance today? Great performance today.
I think he held everything together. When they didn't have the ball, he had to do his bit. He made some really, really important tackles. Particularly second half, he was driving his team forward. I mean, there was once in the second half where he carried the ball at least 50 or 60 yards, and then they got the corner, and then his deliveries were just incredible. I think every single one of them was actually on the money and so dangerous and so tough to defend.
Newcastle, your team, helped out Arsenal a little bit tonight. That looked like a great match with a lot of goals. How do you see this title race shaping up?
Well, obviously Liverpool are favourites, and rightly so, because of the start that they've had to the season. But it's not all going to be perfection for them. They're going to have to answer some questions. I mean, they did tonight at Newcastle, but I think Arsenal are the closest to them. They're the ones that are going to challenge them. And if I don't see City coming back from where they are at this moment in time, I know they've got a decent result and they're back to winning, but I think they've given themselves too much to do. So I do see that Arsenal can challenge Liverpool, but it's going to be tough. They're going to have to be near on perfect, Arsenal.
Will Arsenal catch them up on their set pieces? Will that be the key to success?
Well, they're dangerous. That's without doubt, they're the best in the country at doing that. I remember years and years ago that we had the old Wimbledon team and we had the old Stoke team who were absolute giants and difficult to defend. Arsenal are huge. They've got the delivery. They've got the hunger to get on the end of it. So it's a great weapon for them to have.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Alan.
you.
Around them are going to drop points. You said pre-match, didn't you, that the team that finishes above City will win the league, and I said, well, even Liverpool, and you stood by that. They've made their comeback tonight. We'll see that in a moment there. But one of the most interesting things that came through there was him saying he trusts the process.
I mean, I was one of those that didn't write them off, that's for sure, Declan. No, trust the process, trust, he's talking about his set pieces there. I think we spoke off air about Declan would probably want to be scoring a lot more goals. he probably want to be on the end of a lot of those, but because he's his quality, he's one of the best gifted midfield players that Arsenal have, technically. It's like he says, it's like every time you go up, it's a goal and an opportunity to score. But yeah, trust the process, trust the development of where they're going to be at right now. Like he says there, February is when we can think about it. He wasn't really sure about the result tonight. You know, when we were saying before at the start of the programme, our players aware, he really wasn't aware of that at all. That just shows how focused this team is right now.
And Ruben Amorim and Manchester United will have learned a lot about each other tonight. That was a good defensive first half display, but when Arsenal stepped it up in the second half, they were found wanting.
It was, and I admit that in the second half, the storm was here. Like the coach said before, he know that the storm is going to come. Today, the storm was here, especially in the second half. Set pieces, big problem. They scored 2 from those, and now it's back to the training ground to fix the mistakes from the second half, especially.
Let's talk about those set pieces, shall we? In fact, why don't we have a little look at the first goal, Roberto, and then we can talk a little bit more about what Arsenal are doing so well. No surprise, because actually in the first half, it was only through set pieces that they had any attacking threat.
Well, I think we were talking about the how tight the game was, but that delivery makes every strategy that you work in the set play work. It's 6 players, and we're going to analyze it a little bit later, but is that togetherness that they go 5 players, some players, they know exactly who to block, they open the space, and with good delivery it's very, very difficult for any goalkeeper that stays on the line. And this is a routine that they practice, and today it was fascinating to see the best attacker in the corners has been Gabriel, and today was missing, but they found a little bit of an extra number, and they adjusted their strategy. So I think today full credit for Mikel Arteta and obviously Nicolas Jover, that he works in those details. And I think that shows something that it doesn't happen in any other league in the world. In other leagues, normally the team that he plays well normally wins. Here, let me show you about the set play, something that is very, very unique. They got 6 players and they got 3 areas. Look at the first zone, the second zone in front of the keeper, and then the back post. The moment that the synchronization happens, good delivery is always in swing. Here's Declan Rice. You can have 5 players, 1 stays in the back, and then 5 players, 3 blocking. And if the delivery is right, that's impossible to defend. The first man of United had some zonal players, some man-marking players. As coaches, when we prepare this sort of strategy work, you know what the opposition are going to do. The uniqueness of this work of Arsenal is that they always find a little trick that make things impossible to defend. If the delivery is right, and I think Declan Rice said something that is, we believe on it, when you are disciplined and you do the perfect block and your perfect intensity, is an incredible goal-scoring threat that Arsenal have.
It is, but it is not a secret. And is there more that oppositions can be doing to disrupt this, whether it's positioning of their own defenders or keepers?
Yeah, this is something, obviously I don't want to take away what Arsenal do in their attacking structure, but I just want to see other teams try something completely different. Arsenal have now, Nicolas Jover has come in and he's done something completely different out of the ordinary, because Arsenal are now scoring at will. But I want to see maybe a goalkeeper change their position. Just actually put the question to whoever's taken the corner, Saka if it's Declan Rice, they look up, suddenly the goalkeeper's stood on the, I'm not saying on the penalty spot, but is in a different position, which then the players need to adapt.
But Theo, you remember, you suffered, we all suffered Stoke. And I think it's a great credit to remember Tony Pulis and the work that he did with the throw-ins. And it's exactly what you said. All the teams were trying to defend it in a certain way. You know what they do? Exceptional teams, when they do something exceptionally well, you need to find a different way to defend it. Here, this is the essence of the British game. This is the essence of the Premier League. It doesn't happen in other league. Here you got set plays and transition, because the physicality is more allowed, the referees allow the contact, are the 2 aspects that they don't happen in other leagues around the world. And the Premier League is almost the keeps this that we all suffered, and set plays and the transition is the 2 aspects that you need to really adapt to it if you want to win games even when you don't play well.
Well, we were...
Manchester United 0 then is how it finishes. The Gunners pick up 3 points. 13 corners Arsenal had in that game. Manchester United didn't get 1, and in the end, of course, 2 goals coming from the hosts. Let's welcome in, shall we? Stuart Robson joins us as well as Frank Leboeuf. Robbo, it's all about the corners for Arsenal.
It was, because the first half, as Craig said, Manchester United had quite a decent shape. They had easy possession and both sides didn't really play with any intensity. I was surprised the way Arsenal didn't really press the ball. They allowed Manchester United to keep switching it to their wing-backs, play through midfield. But again, there was no real penetration. Garnacho didn't look as though he was going to go past anybody. Mason Mount, you know, he just can't find his form at the moment. And Højlund, apart from a couple of runs, didn't pose too many threats. But in the second half, when Arsenal increased the intensity and started closing the ball down, getting the ball forward quicker, and they started winning more corners, you know, it was always going to be their game. But you have to give credit to Arsenal. The set plays are very good. Of course they are. They've got determination. As Craig said, the deliveries have to be good. But I'm looking at the defenders. You know, you want to have defenders that are going to say, throw the ball in the box, I'm going to go and win it, I'm going to go and attack it. The Manchester United defenders were standing, well, hoping it didn't come near them. It was really poor defending, a lack of determination, a lack of responsibility, and that's why they conceded, or looked like they could concede every time a ball was played in their box.
Frank, you're a defender. How would you deal with this?
As a defender, I know how to do it. My problem is the forwards coming back to defend and not doing well. Last week was Antonio I think it was on Gabriel, and today was Højlund. Just pushed a little bit by Timber and not trying to fight, and that's the problem. If forwards they come back and they're not ready to fight, it doesn't work. You have to be strong. You have to make sure nobody's going to move you. You have a choice by coaches from a zone positioning or a marking positioning. I rather give responsibility to every player, to mark every player, to know exactly what's going on and what you have to do. Today, Manchester United decided to go for a zone system. West Ham last weekend was on the marking system. Both don't work if you are not completely committed. And that's the problem. If you don't want your guy to score, your guy won't score. You don't need to look at the ball. Just look at your guy. Just block him. That's what Arsenal does offensively. It's what Timber does offensively. He made a foul last weekend. Today, again, when he touches before, he pushed Højlund. They always make blocks or make foul. That's a part of the system. Nicolas Jobert, the corner coach, knows exactly what he does. He blocks others and makes sure that somebody's going to be free. And we could see every corner. Well, we have to say that Saka and Rice are giving masterpieces in that matter. But they always have somebody free because the other they block. They make foul that the ref won't give because it's not really a foul.
I think from the game perspective, what Ruben Amorim found out that he can have a very defensively good shape in the side, but that depends on the personnel that he picked, and he picked a more defensive unit. And in terms of the shape, in the first 45, they were excellent, and Rob was right, they frustrated Arsenal. But what happened was he opened it up a little bit at half-time because Ahmad didn't start and Rashford didn't start, and when he made those changes and the game opened up, then they got picked off. Now, I know the 2 goals were from set pieces, but there was other instances of, you know, Trossard and particularly Odegaard getting on the ball and linking up with Saka. It didn't really happen in the first half. And so I think from Amorim's perspective, it's kind of where they are. Right. That he didn't want to open up too early. And I thought they looked good defensively, not much going forward in the first half. But when he did throw in those more attacking players, then there's a lot of work to do. And particularly against the better sides. And I think from Arsenal's perspective, they knew Liverpool had a tough game at Newcastle, away from home. The last thing they could have done tonight was slip up. Yep. Now, it wasn't vintage from Arsenal, I'll give you that. Not as strong as it's been in the last 2 or 3 games. But it was very professional. They got the job done. There was no Gabriel. There was no Calafiori. So that left side was a little weaker. But it worked for them. And they've closed the gap. And before the game started, that's what they were trying to do.
Go on, Frank.
Yeah, Craig and Robert, I agree with you that this first half, Manchester United, they were kind of, there. But it's more due to Arsenal not pressurizing high enough on the field, like they normally do. So it's for me more due to Arsenal tactic, or maybe Arteta tactic was maybe a little bit too cautious in the first half than Manchester skills and tactically were all aware. As soon as Arsenal put the second gear on, the second half, Manchester United didn't exist. that was more Arsenal cautiousness than anything else in the first half for me.
Maybe it was, I don't know, I might be wrong, but maybe it was a slightly different approach from Arsenal to protect that back four, which has been excellent, but not this personnel.
Right, because Gabriel's out, was he?
Because